Well, that wasn't as good.
No, it was not. No, it was not.
Ecuador, Costa Rica, or Panama.
Uh-huh.
Fair?
Fair.
There were some positives. Welcome to the Quick Take, Hot Take, Total Soccer Show. My name's Dale Grove. This is Taylor Rockwell. He's reminded me that I should introduce it, even though it's the Quick Take, Hot Take. Our long review.
Instead of a low-key, rambling introduction, we're the Nerdist now, apparently.
How dare you? well, in many aspects, no. Our long take, our big review of USA Chile will be out later tonight. This is our sort of right after kickoff. The players are still shaking hands on the field.
Yes.
On our TV screen. Reaction.
I know we haven't even had the 15 instant replays of Christian Pulisic getting injured again.
Oh, yeah, we missed some action because of that.
Yeah,
right?
we sure did.
All right, quick takes then, Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, I've rambled. What do you think?
I mean, about that, I thought it was exactly what we wanted to see to start. It was the United States kind of taking it to Chile. I think catching Chile out, as Sebi Salazar said in the beginning of the show. Or
we kind of high pressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
To begin with.
But it felt like a Chile team who were in a state of disarray. Their coach was talking about how maybe he wasn't the coach to be there.
Yeah.
And so for the United States to jump out to that early lead felt like, okay, here we go. We're going to catch Chile out. And then rather than sort of be kind of lackluster in their response or sort of just like give up, Chile, it felt like really went back to the United States, figured some things out.
Yes.
And it really took until the midway through the second half for the United States to basically just say, okay, fine, we're going to go ultra defensive and see this out.
5-4-1.
But it easily could have been a Chile win for sure.
And what we saw, I think we'll get into details of this on the long review show, but Arturo Vidal, best player on the field by a distance.
Yep.
Exploited all kinds of space behind our defensive midfielders, in front of our left back. Just like Bradley and Areola couldn't quite figure out how to mark him or what to do with him. Isla, the right back, who we knew would get forward, caused all sorts of trouble for Tim Ream. They murdered us down that right side, essentially. And it took us a long time to figure that out.
It did. I think especially so because it wasn't just Arturo Vidal sort of showing into space and demanding the ball to his feet. We saw him do plenty of that and get the ball to his feet.
Yeah.
But we also saw him vacate space and then point for the ball to go back into the space he had vacated for an advancing runner who had just kind of occupied that area.
Yeah,
and
he's playing 8-dimensional chess.
Exactly, and so I think it was the sort of variation in the way that he was playing this game, he being Arturo Vidal, that really caused a lot of problems for the United States.
I think what's really interesting is we talk a lot about the Greg Berhalter system and we have possession and we use it to unbalance the opposition and pull people out of position. Arturo Vidal basically did all of that on his own.
He sure did.
And I think it's evidence of you can have a system. I'm feeling a bit down about this now. You can have a system, but you can also have one player who just knows how to exploit space. And that's the key, right? And then on the other side, the US had guys like, without being too harsh, I saw Christian Roldan give the ball away a lot. I saw Corey Baird, a lot of incomplete passes, a lot of guys who kind of struggled playing against this level of opposition. Yeah, that's my quick take. I'll rewatch. I don't think I'll see anything different.
No, I would agree because you saw familiar cracks. You saw for all the times Michael Bradley did hit a nice one-time ball or did kind of find space and play a good through ball, we also saw him do that sort of half challenge. I don't want to get beat too much, but instead ends up getting beaten.
Yeah.
We saw Omar Gonzalez have some questionable decisions, or make some questionable decisions, have some questionable clearances.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan Horvath the same.
We'll get into details on Gonzalez, but isn't there a moment where he concedes a throw with a really shanky clearance, and then he's so busy apologising to teammates
38th minute
that he doesn't notice a player running behind him and receiving the ball.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yes. I mean, that's some stuff that we would yell at our adult league team for with guys who've never played soccer before.
We've literally done that. We won't name him, but we've done that.
We won't, but again, it's a person who's never played soccer before.
Yeah.
When they're playing for the U.S. national team, you would expect maybe a slightly higher level of attention.
Yes. And you mentioned Ethan Horvath. One thing I'll be looking at is his kicking.
Yes.
I noticed, at least on first watch, a lot of goal kicks that didn't clear midfield or were hit really low, or weird attempts to pass into midfield that were intercepted by Chilean players.
Yeah.
And he has the MLS assist on the first goal.
He does, except that then you go back and watch it, and we're fairly confident from the angles we saw that it's just him trying to make a play on the ball because it's a through ball. He comes off his line and gets it clear with the instep. But I don't think he's necessarily aiming for Giassi Zardes thinking, oh, this will trigger a counterattack. I think he's thinking,
I don't want to get
scored on.
He's thinking clear.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, credit to Zardes, the way he receives that ball and turns in one motion and then plays through Christian Pulisic.
Yep.
It is exactly everything we've asked of Giassi Zardes in terms of that striker role. Yep. And it was everything we've asked of Christian Pulisic, right? To be running in beyond him. There was one moment of perfection.
There was.
That was kind of it. But it was in transition. It wasn't in possession.
No.
right?
Yeah.
It's not an ideal Berhalter goal.
No, I mean, I think it was, 65-35 or something like that at halftime. I can't imagine it was much better for the second half. The United States really did, once they shifted to the back three, back five, in more of like a 5-4-1, I would say, there wasn't...
Exactly
the only chance they had, or only even half chance they had, was Chile kicking it straight to them from their own defensive third, and then the United States was able to get something, but even then, not that much.
All right, very quick take on Chile's goal.
Sure.
I'm going to say a cascade of disastrous failures.
Yeah, I mean, even
missed tackles, missed tracking, weird positional stuff. There was an attack that just didn't result in a goal just before, and then the attack that results in the goal, kind of similar in a bunch of weird failures.
And the first one that you're talking about comes from a U.S. throw, actually, and it's the United States. We counted it. They lose the header off the throw, and then they lose the resulting header. Then there's 2 defensive miscues. Then somebody fails to step, and eventually the ball gets cleared, but even then it's not that good of a clearance, and the United States is scrambling once again. And it was a very good representation of the problems for the United States on the evening, that once they started to make a few errors or they didn't quite challenge for a ball, it didn't feel like they had the resolve or the awareness or the whatever to then fight their way back in and make sure they won that ball back, or they reestablished possession, or they put a big tackle in and slowed the play down.
Chile turned a lot of 50-50s into 80-20s, right? Which is a very Chile thing, right? It's not necessarily a massive US failure. They kind of do that to everybody.
They do, but it's also, I mean, it's a Chile thing because Chile do it. It's like if you stop them from doing it, if you really fight for those 50-50s, it makes it that much harder. It's easy to...
We missed Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams.
We sure did, yeah. And I think
one by accident, one by choice.
True. I think you said during the show you would have loved, or during the game, you would have loved to see Weston McKennie go up against Arturo Vidal with some of that intensity, and I do think that would have made a difference, because there's no way Weston McKennie's backing down from any sort of 50-50, which can be bad if it's his ankle, but it can also be good in terms of keeping your team up for it and making sure everybody else is kind of following that precedent.
All right, final thing I want to get to on the quick take before we go too long is the original thing of us almost doing a 4-2-4 in defensive shape and pressing Chile, I think eventually became our undoing, where it just left it was almost like Dave Sarachan teams used to do this, right? Where the 2 wingers would go too high and there'd be too much space, and then we got exploited in those gaps, and then there were gaps between the defensive midfielders and the back 4, and we were all stretched out horizontally and vertically. That got worse and worse and worse, and Vidal kept exploiting it. And then, here's the thing I think I want to credit Berhalter with. He fixed it, right? 10 minutes into the second half, it was obvious that it was still a problem. The shape wasn't working. Tim Ream was all confused about where to be. We went to that 5-4-1, and it did stop the bleeding in terms of Chilean chances coming endlessly. It kind of made the game real boring.
I guess,
but at least it stopped the bleeding, and that's how we ended up with a 1-1 draw. And Berhalter in the US are still unbeaten.
I guess, but it feels also like if your horse keeps losing a horse race over and over and over again, so you just shoot the other horse. It doesn't quite feel the same as we figured out how to make our horse that much better. It feels like, okay, we've gone.
Yeah.
Or if you keep losing a race to another car and you drive over it with a tank, it sort of is okay, you may have won, but you did so by flattening the other car and then crossing the finish line.
And kind of dismantling what you theoretically liked about your own car, right? Because maybe we'll get deeper into this on the big review show, but there is the Berhalter system, the possession, all that sort of stuff. It seemed like we gave up on that to go into this 5-4-1 and say, all right, please stop, we're already dead.
Yeah.
Let's call this a 1-1.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a lot of defensive scrambling that kept it 1-1, and there were some miscues in the attack for Chile that really could have gone the other way, and it could have easily been 3-1 at the half for Chile, obviously. So
that's why the 5-4-1
right.
is kind of necessary, right?
I suppose. Yeah. But to me, that also, as you said, indicates that okay, this has not worked, and we can kind of abandon this experiment, at least for now.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go defensive to see it out, which means that you're trying to get a point in a friendly, as opposed to playing against superior opposition and sort of really doubling down and saying okay, this isn't working.
We're working
let's figure out how to make it work within the context of this game. How do we shut down Arturo Vidal? How do we focus on that side, as opposed to let's just add another defender and then really not try to attack unless we have a very key attacking moment.
That gets to a bigger debate about whether results are important in friendlies or the tactical experiment and learning the system is important in friendlies. Let's do that on the big review show. All right, should we wrap it up here? We'll rewatch big chunks of this game, and we'll be back later tonight with another review of USA versus Chile.